Hey YouTube, welcome to Mosaic with TJ. Today is a very special day. Today marks the third year from the first date with my husband. So excited. I want to share this with you. So let's talk about it. Welcome back. Okay, again, today is a very special day. Today marks the third year from the date that my now husband and I had our official first date. I wanted to share uh, my story with you for a couple of reasons. The first reason I wanted to share my love story from I guess, a woman that will be considered in the, according to Kevin Samuels, the no man's land. But also, I wanted to talk about it because I know recently a couple of the content creators from the Manosphere talked about, I think it was O'Shea Duke Jackson that referenced Kevin Samuels, but also talked about Simone Biles and how she met her or connected with her now boyfriend by sliding into his DM. So I put a comment on there that's kind of how I got connected with my now husband, but I'll get to that in a minute. So that's why I want to kind of share that with you. I think it'll be exciting. And interestingly enough, I was trying to think, okay, what I want to do. My 17-year-old niece is visiting, and she said, well, Auntie, why don't you wear what you wore on your first date? So I'm wearing what I wore on my first date. When my now husband first saw moi. And I guess he liked what he saw because he put a ring on it. What? But anyway, okay, so our love story. I want to give you a little bit of context, a little bit of background, because in as much as I am in a wonderful place now, it didn't start out that way. And it wasn't because of him, it was because of me. Um, I met him, okay, well, let me backtrack. I had just recently, about a year prior, had recently got out of a relationship, a very short but very volatile relationship, a 6 month relationship that left me physically and emotionally scarred. And I was, incredulous because I could not believe at the age of 50, I found myself there. Physically and emotionally scarred. I have a scar on my knee that will probably always be there. But not to mention the scars that left on the psychological scars, because how did I not see it? And was I so desperate that I wanted any relationship? I didn't see what was in front of me. So I had to do some work. I had to do some counseling, and I had taken about a little less than a year with the counseling, and also took some time off work to get my head right. So it came to a point that I thought I had made significant progress, and because I am older, I've been on. My daughter has had her own life, and it was just me. Um, I thought I wanted to get out there again, so I wanted to try it, but I was scared. I was scared because I was not sure that I could trust my own judgment, considering the fact that I did not see or I did not pay attention because they were there. I saw them. The red flags were there, but I did not pay attention to the red flags when they became apparent to me. So I was a little bit, skittish. But also, being that by this time I was 50, 51-ish, I wasn't meeting people the same way as I did when I was younger because, when you're younger, you're out, you're clubbing, you're going all these different places. Excuse me. You're traveling, and I just wasn't out there like that. So I resorted to what a lot of people resort to, online dating. And interestingly enough, the person that I met from that previous bad situation, I met him on a dating website. And the reason why I went to that particular site is because a friend and coworker met her husband on that site, and they are still together. So I said, well, I'll try this site since she had a good, outcome. Let me try it. So I don't want to spend too much time in that because that's going to be a conversation for another day. So I get onto the site. I look at the profiles. I had revamped my profile, and it talked about words to the effect that I'm a caring and kind person. I believe in it's possible in all people, but I recognize I have a very strong personality, largely because I was the oldest. I was a single mom, in a male-dominated career as a military officer, and I said words to the effect that I had to make my presence known, and I did make my presence known. So I stated words to the effect that, but I also understand the divine order of things. And I said something that I don't know what I don't know what I'm looking for, but I know what I'm not looking for. And I talked about that there are many facets of me, and I longed to show that to someone, to be my best friend, to show the many facets of me. Okay, so I have my profile up there. I'm getting some traction. I'm a decent looking woman. But I just wasn't making any connections. I wasn't making any connections. So I happened to go on it one day. I think it was the 17th of July, 2018. So I go on, and you know how when you go to the site, even if no one drops you a line or a flirt or whatever, you can see who's been looking at your channel, or you're not the channel, but your profile. So I go to look and see who had been looking at my profile, and lo and behold, this guy had been looking at my profile. So I went to look at his, because what caught me was his warm smile. I am a tooth snob. Anyone that knows me knows I'm a sucker for a nice pair of pearly whites. So he had a beautiful smile. So that caused me to look a little bit more into his page. He didn't have a lot there, but I looked at some of his pictures, and I could see that he was a truck driver. I could see that he worked out. So I just sent him a, hey there. And a few moments later, he hit me back. So we did a slight banter back and forth via the dating platform, but I stated to him early on that I am not the type of woman that's going to have, long extended conversations via text messages or direct messages. So when I got to a point that I felt like he may not be crazy, let's exchange numbers. So we exchanged numbers, and he called me within, a few minutes. So when he was talking to me and he told me that he was a truck driver and this, that, and the other, I'm like, because again, truck drivers have a reputation because, they go a lot of places. So I'm like, okay, do you have hoes and area codes? So I was like, but it was something about his conversation. So we talked for a few hours that night. This is the 17th of July. And we talked the next day. Now, because of his work schedule, there was times that he could not talk to me, and I understood that I wasn't tripping because, we're getting to know each other. We hadn't even met in person. I hadn't even seen him in person, so I think it may have been the 18th or the 19th, maybe the 18th. We agreed that we would do a FaceTime. So we had our first FaceTime conversation. We laughed, we giggled. Well, I giggled. So I was being coy, and we set our first date for the 20th because he liked, he was really health conscious, talked about organic beef. And I said, I know the perfect place for you. It was a place that my daughter turned me on to. It's called Hop Dottie. I live in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. It's called Hop Dottie They do fresh Angus burgers, and I started telling him about that. He's, oh yeah, that sounds wonderful. And so we agreed upon a dinner and a movie. So we were going to go to Hop Dottie for dinner and walk right across the street to the movie. We were going to see Equalizer 2. So we agreed to meet. Agreed to meet at a certain time. I get there and I park, and I'm really not sure because you're not sure if the person that you saw on the profile, and even if you may have seen them on FaceTime, are they really given what you think? So I get out of the car and I'm walking, and I have this on, okay. So I'm walking toward the restaurant, and again, I wasn't sure, didn't have my glasses on because I really couldn't see that far. But as I got closer, I saw this gentleman stand up. He had on a white, like T-shirt, but tucked in with these blue and white seersucker pants. And I remember this. But so as I got closer, I still wasn't sure if it was him until I saw that smile. And of course, then I start smiling. And it was so hot. I don't know anybody that knows about DFW because he was waiting outside for me, in the little seating area out front of the restaurant, but it was hot. Okay. So he was waiting for me. We hugged and we, went in to have dinner, and it was really nice. He loved the place. The burger was fresh and all that kind of stuff. We had great conversation, laughed and everything. But you're still, you don't really know. This is your first date. So we went across the street to the movie. Okay. So he paid for the dinner. And so we go across the street to the movie, and he's looking for his credit card to pay for the movie tickets. He can't find his credit card. Okay. Now he just used it for dinner. So he can't find his credit card. He's looking for looking. And I'm thinking, oh Lord, please don't let this man lose his credit card on his first date with me, because that would not be a good sign. So he said, I'm going to go across the street to the restaurant and see if I left it there. So while he's there, I'm praying, but I also went on and paid for the movie tickets myself, because, if something happened, he lost his credit card, we were still going to salvage the night. So I paid for the movie tickets myself. So he walks back and he says that someone turned his credit card in. So he gets ready to buy the tickets. I said, I already bought them. He said, you did what? I said, I already bought them. So he quickly reaches into his pocket and gives me the money for the tickets that I just bought. So I said, okay, well, since you bought dinner and you bought the tickets, allow me to buy the popcorn or whatever. So he said, he didn't really want to, but I said, please let me know. I said, the least I can do, I guess you were nervous. I must have made you nervous. That's why you forgot your credit card. So we laughed about that. We're in the movie, watching the movie. Then all of a sudden, my stomach started rumbling. I'm like, okay, this can't be happening. So I'm watching the movie, and my stomach starts rumbling more. I'm like, I can't have the bubble guts here on this date. And that's what was happening. I said, I'll be right back. So I go handle the business, come back. Movie's going on. We're he's really into it. We're really enjoying it. About another 30 minutes in, it's happening again. I said, I don't know what's going on. This has never happened to me in a movie. Never happened to me. So I excused myself yet again. So I'm thinking, okay, this is not out, this is weird. So I missed part of the movie because I had to excuse myself twice, but get back, finish the movie. It was great. He walks me to my car, and I said, thank you for a great night. I said, I guess we both must have been a little nervous. I said, you lost, you couldn't, you misplaced your credit card, and I got bubble guts. I said, maybe we were both a little bit nervous. So we laughed about it, and then he gave me the biggest hug. He hugged me so tight. It was almost uncomfortable. Not uncomfortable because it felt awkward, but uncomfortable because he was holding on to me so tight. So he would later tell me that that was to let me know that he really wanted to see me again, that he was interested. So check off the first date. So I think a day or maybe two later, he was getting ready to go back on the road, but he wanted to see me. So we really didn't have a chance for a real another date. So, but he wanted to see me. I said, well, I'm getting ready to go to the grocery store. You can go to the grocery store with me. We can talk for a little bit or whatever. So he comes over and he takes me to the grocery store. So grocery store. Our second date was a grocery store run. So we're in the grocery store. He had never been to Aldi. I'm not sure how many of you know about Aldi, but it's the bomb. Okay. My mother introduced me to Aldi. I'll go there first before I go anywhere else. So we're in Aldi and walking around with my groceries, talking about how much we enjoyed each other, and get to the counter, and he proceeds to pay for my groceries. I said, you don't have to do that. He said, I know I don't have to do that. So he paid for my groceries. So he drives me home and we talk for a little bit, because again, he has to get on the road. And as he gets ready to leave, he hugs me and then he kisses me. And it was a nice one. Okay. It was a nice one. So that was our first dating weekend. So that had to have been Saturday, then Sunday. So we continued on with the conversations, really good conversations. He was able to make me laugh. I was able to make him laugh. We learned a little bit about each other's past relationships. He had been married for 20 years to his first wife. He has two children. Well, total of three children, but two children with his first wife. And after 20 years, it dissolved. And I'd been married once before to my daughter's father. It lasted we got married in 1999, and it was over by, I think, 2002. So we immediately, had some things in common. And so I still wasn't really sure because, I was telling my daughter that he's a truck driver. She said, oh, Mom, truck drivers have bad reputations. I don't know about that. I said, well, there's something just about his spirit, his demeanor. It's just something about him, his warmth. I said, but I'm going to be cautious because, again, I was still not sure I could trust my own judgment because I didn't read the other guy correctly. So we talk about the second date. So let's get down to the third date. He and I are talking quite a bit. And I want him to meet my daughter and, and her then fiance, to see if they could get a read on maybe something I couldn't. But I was thinking it'd be something, nothing really big. But he decided to take us to a very nice steakhouse for dinner. So he's talking, and so of course I don't know if my daughter or her then fiance asked, so what are your intentions with my mom? I think it was my daughter. So what are your intentions? So it was funny because he answered something. He said, my intentions are honorable or something like that. But the date ended really well. And at the end of the date, not my mom, but my daughter and her then fiance said that they really liked him. He seemed really nice, really upstanding, very genuine. So we continued to talk. So as we talked, I asked him, I said, I saw that you that you liked my profile, that you went to my profile. That's how the reason why I hit you up. I said, but why, he said, well, I had already put you in my favorites. I said, well, you put me in your favorites, but you didn't reach out to me. He said, well, no, because after reading your profile and, you know, seeing what you did as far as your career, I just didn't think that you'd be interested in a blue collar truck driver. That's what he thought. But he was wrong. So within the first month of us dating, within the first month, maybe two, I went out on the road with them. I told my daughter I was going out on the road with him. I was very careful with the family members and friends I told I was going out on the road with them because, I didn't want to hear, well, do you know him that well enough? I didn't want to hear any of that. I didn't. Now, it was, again, something about him from early on that made me feel safe. It did. So I went out on the road with him. I called it a field trip. I took, some pictures, and I enjoyed it thoroughly. I got some good rest. I had a wonderful time with him. And, we called my dad and my mom to let them know where I was. And, he talked to my father to let him know that he was going to take care of his daughter. So it was really cool. And we got closer and closer and closer. And everyone that met him, when when my daughter, her husband, now husband, my father talked to him, everyone got the same warmth and comfort from him. He didn't talk a whole lot, but there was something about, he had this quiet confidence and authority and command that people gravitated toward him. And it just made me feel so soft. It made me feel really soft and demure and, carefree. And one of the things that we started to do early on as we got closer, we start sending each other songs, because we couldn't see each other every day. And we would send each other love songs. He would send a song that reminded him of me. I would send him a song that reminded me of him. We talked pretty much every day. But when we didn't talk every day, I didn't trip. And that was funny because as, we got to know each other, he was saying that, the women that he had encountered on the site, he hadn't even met some of them, and they were just like hounding, like, well, why haven't you called me back, and this, that, and the other, and are you playing games with me, and I don't have time with that. But for me, I guess I had come to a point I told you about the therapy that I was going through. I, just completed, and I was still going through some, but not as intense as before. I'd come to a place that I was confident in who I was. And I was confident that I was projecting that I was secure in who I was. So I was not hounding him because I always thought if he didn't call me when he thought he would, okay, he's a truck driver. He probably can't. And maybe it has something to do with the military because I kind of likened it to, him being deployed, even if it was short deployments. So I didn't really trip, but, we started to get really close. And then I never forget one of my close friends at the time. She's since passed. She passed away last year from cancer. But she was one of the first of my friends to meet him in person. Some of them had spoken to him on the phone because I have friends all over the country. And she lived in Oklahoma, but she was the first one to come down and meet him. I think that may have been October. It was October because let me back up. September of that first year. So we met in July. I got on the road with him in August. September, my dad and stepmother are coming to Houston because for his in-laws' birthday, and invited us to come to join in the festivities. So we did. We took the weekend and went down there. He met my father in person. He'd already spoken to him on the phone. He met him in person, met my dad's in-laws and the family, and everyone just loved him, just absolutely loved him. And it was interesting because even though we had been dating a short period of time, we had already been talking about marriage. I know it's crazy, right? Um, but that encounter when we went to Houston for the birthday party, it was a dinner cruise, and my honey does not like being on large bodies of water. So, so the fact that he went, you know, it spoke to me, you know. And later that day or that night, my dad came to me and told me that, Lawrence had gone to him and said, to express how he felt about me and that he wanted to eventually ask me to marry him and wanted my father's blessing. And my father gave it. So that was pretty exciting. So here comes October. October, OU Texas weekend, big weekend, the Red River Throwdown. I had a tradition of going to OU Texas weekend with, friends. So again, that's when my sorority sister came down from Oklahoma City, stayed the weekend with me, and we hung out, and she had a chance to meet him and to be around us. And he took us to breakfast. And so she started to see our interaction. And the first thing she said to me, she said, "I like the way he handles you." I said, "Well, what do you mean by that?" And I called her my soror twin because I am a Gemini and her birthday was a week after mine. So I called her my soror twin because we were so much alike. Okay. And going back to the strong personalities, well, I was a little bit more boisterous, but she was just as intimidating. Okay. She pledged me and she didn't have to raise her voice to get me scared. So, so she said that she liked the way he handles me. She said because he's very deliberate, very direct, but he doesn't put on he doesn't boast, but where he's coming from, he's serious. And I just like the way he handles you. And I just kind of laughed, because again, I knew what kind of person I was. So we get ready to take her to the not bus station, train station. And so I was going to drive her because it's about an hour away from my house. And so he says, "No, I'll drive, I'll drive you, lady, so we can take her to the train station." So on the way there, Sheila says to him, "I told Terry that I wanted to tell you what I think of you. I didn't want her to pass it on to you secondhand. So I am telling you this. I like you. You are a good guy. You have a really good spirit. I like the way you handle my sister because I know how we can be, but you let her know in no uncertain terms that you're the man. And I like that." He said, "Well, I'm just me." And so that was the first friend that met him in person. So it just, we just grew really fast. And by December of 2018, Christmas Eve, he asked me to be his wife. And with the engagement ring. And it was magical, it's funny because before I met him, and even, in college and shortly thereafter, I would say, I'm not going to take care of no man. I'm not going to do this. But I would also say, the man for me is a man who can tell me to be quiet, and I respect him enough to actually do it. Now, I guess that's nothing to boast about. But I did not understand the significance of it, because you can tell your woman to be quiet without being, you know, condescending or abusive. But if you're a man, she knows you mean business. And I learned early on what kind of person I was dealing with. Um, so fast forward, our courtship was pretty quick, and we had decided to set a wedding date for August of 2019. I wanted to do it because my daughter was already had her wedding scheduled for June 2019. So it was all about her, because this was 20 something wedding. You know, she's a priority. This is my second go around. This was his third go around. So we had to set the date for August, I think 24th. Um, but he asked me, my birthday's in May. He asked me what I wanted for my birthday. And I told him that I wanted to be Mrs. Randolph for my birthday. So on my birthday, we went to the courthouse and got married on my birthday. So, both of our birthdays have significance, not just because we were born on those days. His birthday is Valentine's Day. Okay? So we celebrate his birthday, and I call him my everyday Valentine. So, but now my birthday is not just my birthday, it is our anniversary. So we got hitched at the courthouse on my birthday, and a couple of months later, we actually had the wedding for family and friends in August. I will say to you that every friend, family member that has encountered him and has encountered us together, they see love. They see protection. They see everything. And it's funny because everything I said I wasn't going to do, because it was so funny, because I told him when we started dating, I said, now, I'm not the girl that cooks every day. So if that's what you're looking for, I'm not the one for you. I said, because, I can cook, but I don't cook like that every day. He says, well, I don't expect you to cook every day, but, I expect my woman to cook. So, but unbeknownst to me, I would find myself just doing it more and more and more. To the point that my daughter would come over and I'm cooking something. She said, Mom, you didn't cook like this much for me. Sorry. But, and also, one of the things I remember when we were dating, I would go to his apartment and there were clothes everywhere all the time. He was constantly doing laundry when he was home, never finishing it because he wasn't home for a long period of time. So now that we're married, he comes home on the weekends. So when he's home on the weekends, I make sure meals cooked, not only for the weekend that he's there, but also so he can take some home cooked meals on the road with him. I make sure that the laundry basket is empty every time he comes home because he has a fresh batch of laundry. I did not understand marriage before. When I was married to my daughter's husband, not my daughter's husband, my daughter's father, he would want me to cook, and I'm like, I'm tired. I've been working just like you. That was my attitude. Not the right attitude to have. Not the right attitude to have. What I have found in marriage, because I've said it once, I'll say it again. I was married before, but I was not a wife before. I'm a wife now because I place his needs before mine. I'm constantly thinking of ways to make his life easier because my husband works very hard. You know, he's out there on the road hours, and it's tough on his body, it's tough on his, you know, his physical and the mental toll because driving, but he's been doing it for over 30 years. But when he comes home, I'm just consumed with making sure that when he's home, he is comfortable. He doesn't have to worry about, you know, the house being a mess because I want to make sure that it's, you know, comfortable, clean, laundry clean, the backyard, you know, we have a pool out there. I want the whole patio area just relaxing for him. So that's all he can think about. Um, and it's funny because the more I focus on him, I find the more he's focusing on me. So marriage is truly selfless because it's never about you, it's about the other person. I didn't understand that before because I wasn't getting it. But he showed me that from the very first date. The very first date. You know, I think in, you know, Kevin, one of Kevin's broadcasts and also several, you know, Manosphere broadcasts, they talk about real men don't care about how much money the woman makes or how much education. They want their woman to be smart, but they don't care about, you know, how much education and how much money. And that is so true. That is so true. My husband could care less how much money I make because he always focused on what he was to do as the man providing for this house. And I take care of the house. I did not know there could be so much fulfillment out of it, but there is. There is. You know, I get excited. This is a little secret. Um, this past weekend when he came home, I had, you know, I decided I was going to have several meals like I normally do, but this was a little different. I had a rotisserie rack of a leg of lamb, potatoes and carrots. That was for one. That was for a Sunday meal. For Saturday meal, I grilled a whole bunch of chicken or broccoli, a salad. So I just and then of course, I had on some how shall we say, a very alluring outfit. So when he came home, you know, he smelled the goodness, the aroma of the food, but then he smelled the aroma of his wife because, you know, she was looking good and smelling good. So that is the joy of my or our love story. And I stepped out on faith, but I paid attention this time. And I was looking for something to change because the other situation had changed. But ladies, he was consistent from day one to now. And going back to the profile that I stated, that I want to show every facet of myself, he has seen it. You know, he would make jokes. He said, girl, it's, you know, you act like a little girl sometimes. You just giggle and you just so innocent, act so innocent. And that's true. Sometimes I act really silly. That's true. Sometimes I can be a force of nature when it comes to handling business. So, you know, when I'm in character as far as work, he's seen that side. He's seen the mother bear side who's protective of not only my child, but my family and all that I love, all whom I love. He's seen that side. But he's also seen the sides of me that are fearful about whether it be the future, or whether it be, you know, he's seen the vulnerable and the weak side of me losing my close friend. And just before she passed in April, she said, you know, she calls him Junior because he is a junior. And it's funny because the only people that call him Junior are his siblings and my girl, my soror. So she said, you know, I know you're in good hands with Junior. And I told him that she said that before she passed. And it's true. You know, I know that there was some buzz about, what Carrie Hilson said about um, if a woman is made to feel safe, that man will get the most submissive, cooperative woman. And it's not by condition. It will happen naturally. And because it happened with me naturally. Because again, in my mindset, I had, well, I'm not going to do this, I'm not going to do that, I'm not, you know, wrong mindset, no doubt. Wrong mindset. But, but just without even realizing it was happening, it was happening. And it was something he didn't even have to ask for. It was just something that automatically flowed through me. And maybe it was something that I had been, that had been dormant inside of me, longing for the opportunity to really show it. Because it's almost like, I compare it to my daughter as a new mother. You can tell somebody all day long how their experience is going to be, but they have to go through it on their own. And she was scared. I was scared. But I have seen her. It just naturally flows from her. And it's interesting because my daughter is an only child, so she never had siblings to take care of. The closest thing to a sibling she had was our miniature schnauzer that she called her brother. But it was inside. And as as a only child, my kid was spoiled and selfish, okay? So we talk about marriage is selfless, so is being a parent, if you do it right. But to watch it just flow naturally from her, it's not like she said, well, I'm only going to seek to be a nurturing and loving mother if my child is, or my baby is not crying all the time, or it's just not, or it just flowed. And it's not like me, I can't speak for other women, but it's not like I said, even though I said there I wasn't going to do this, that, and the other, but it's not like I consciously put conditions on it, because that I didn't. But when the environment was right, it flowed naturally. And it flows naturally. And men, you can disagree with me, but it is when a woman feels safe to let go of everything, to let go of control. I understand that. Because again, as a single mother, as the oldest child to a young mother, as a female officer in two male-dominated military services, the male energy flowed because, again, it was a requirement of strength for survival. Quite frankly, for survival. But it flows just effortlessly. And I think because I have shown him every aspect of me, the good, bad, and in between, like I said before. But there's no way that I would be able to do that if I didn't feel safe, because I'd be fearful that someone would use those vulnerabilities, those flaws against me, because that has happened. That has happened. So like I said, I know I even went on MTR and tried to, give my piece about it. And, there's some, good arguments there, but we didn't get here overnight. But I understand where Miss Hilson is coming from because I was the same way. And we long for that. We long for it. We really do. We long for it. I know I did. Didn't know that I did, but I did. Long to feel safe. Long to take the load off so someone could carry the load for me. And this is the last point. My grandfather, talked about my father. I really didn't grow up that much with my dad, but we have I love him. He loves me. And Lawrence, asked for his blessing. But the male figure in my life who was a man, an example of what a man should be for his family, was my grandfather. And for all intents and purposes, he was the father figure in my life. And as the first grandchild, I was extremely close to him. My grandfather passed away in 2002. In March, I think March 30th of 2002. And his birthday is June 2nd. Every year in March and in June, I would get this heavy sadness because I would miss my grandfather so much. Between March and June, this heavy sadness, and I would cry. I would cry because I missed him so much. Years, every year. I told my husband, because we met in July, right? When the following March came around, it dawned on me that that was the first time since my grandfather passed that I didn't cry. And the same when his birthday came. It was the first time since his passing that I didn't cry. And it's because I believe I found someone like my grandfather that I could be safe and that would take care of me in every way a man should take care of his wife. So I hope that you got something out of this. I hope that it can be an encouragement to you. For ladies who are still trying to figure this thing out, I'm not an expert, but I can share some of the things I did well and some of the things I didn't do so well. And particularly if you're younger than me, to help you save yourself some time of choosing the wrong men or having them choose you. But also to the women in my age group, because there is love to be found. I'm not going to lie and say it's not going to be more difficult, because it is, but it can be found. So if you like this video, please like this video, share, and subscribe. Thank you for tuning in, and until next time.